his solutions within this space, but as he's getting himself set up, one of the things that I love most about the presentation was the emphasis on health, not on beauty. I think that has been a huge problem globally, and particularly in the United States and in Europe. It's been a wrong emphasis. So what we're talking about today is health and wellness, and it's important. The discussion around adipose tissue is the emphasis on that is to help all of us to understand and appreciate where obesity is a disease. It is not something that you are, it is something that you have, just like someone has heart disease, as an example. So I think it's, we spend a lot of time in various circles of healthcare talking about health literacy and the need to increase health literacy, and this is an area where that's very much needed. I think we're now ready to look at a solution that is intended to focus in on some measures and approaches to address another third important topic that Dr. Modestin pointed to, which was around lifestyle modification. You notice that she had mentioned the outcomes not reaching or getting to the place where they needed to be. One of the big elements of that is in one's ability to maintain the lifestyle changes that they've made many efforts to make. And so right now we're going to have Charles Kirby, as I mentioned before, the CEO and founder of Cindy XR, to present on that very topic. Thank you, Charles.
It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me and including me. And thank you, Dr. Modestin, for 10 minutes on what is, for me, profound and, since day one, maybe problem. I'm going to present just directly from our website, Cindy XR. So I'm going to try to keep it to one page per slide, but you're welcome to follow along. It's Cindy with an S because it's an acronym for Seamless Integrated Dynamics in Extended Reality. Oh wait, I'm going to go back a second because I thought you might find it interesting to know a little bit about who I am. I'm beginning to call myself sort of XR patient zero, which is really inaccurate. But essentially, I'm a storyteller, producer. I've made a bunch of indie films. You can find me on IMDb, and as an art director and, of live events and Broadway and now games in extended reality. And I also was in a delivery room one day, September 8th, 2000, when my twins were born 10 and a half weeks early. So, yeah. So, likes include theater, sports, and technology, and I am a fan of good Big Brother. I like being tracked as long as there are measurable outcomes and we can use, let's say, something like blockchain to make sure that it's my data, not Aetna's. I dislike wasting time and mean humans. I want you to know a little bit about my perspective. These are the top 10 devices that I like to wear. And you can find out more about them and why I like them. I went to fat camp in 4th and 8th grade, and I think that if metabolic health is not a play on the word meta, and that I'm actually using apps that I created for the metaverse to now solve this problem, that's either funny or tragic. I'm pretty sure I know which one. I think the games are the secret sauce. I'm already 2 minutes in, so I'm going to pound through some of this. But essentially what we've built so far are 4 apps. That's the mobile app you see some screenshots of. There you see a desktop, iPad, mobile, and laptop version of it. And then this is me and my psychiatrist in a virtual reality HIPAA-compliant private cube where I also force my endocrinologist to meet with me so that then I can point out all the apps that I enjoy, including Helium and Supernatural and a number of other wonderful apps. I'm going to focus in on what became our first client, which essentially is a amazing place called Pounds Transformation. It's 3 locations in Hartford, Connecticut. And basically, this is the user story as best as I can tell it quickly. We integrated the wearables and tracking devices that the clinicians prescribed. We then built games in virtual reality and mobile apps aligned with common patient diagnoses. So if they are enjoying using Biosense or lumens to blow into every morning to try to figure out whether they've flipped to ketosis or not, then great, but how do I track that into their actual, the rest of their day? As the chairperson of Biosense said one time that I really loved, how can we make a video of your day rather than just simply Instagram shots? This is the spectacular CEO who started the practice up in Hartford, Michelle Cavo, and essentially we are their consultant, and they don't know anything about extended reality and the way that it could work, but they believe that it leads to success in physical reality. And yeah, I mean, they just are putting headsets on people and playing games. I'm going to pretend that that's all there is to it because that's not true. But what I want to focus in on is something that's really important, which was then they said to me, if we can't see the data on our side of the Dell monitor that the patient is trapped behind, then it doesn't matter because we can't bill it. And so essentially what we did was we then worked with their remote patient monitoring firm that happens to be called DocSync, and we built a platform where they're able to triangulate the data they want. So for instance, in this case, if you wanted to know the glucose at a certain moment right after I had had a lollipop, you could ask me that question. But my mobile app then also, which is called Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself, if you were to ask me not only what was my glucose, 15 minutes after that lollipop, but how was my stress level? And what about a third option? I don't know, doctor, what would be a third option you might want to know if I was telling you that you saw my continuous glucose monitor spike, you then knew that I had a shitty day at work, right? So the EQ part of it is important to us. And then the third part, well, I'll just answer for you. Maybe hydration. Hey, did you forget to drink your water today, Charles? Oh yes, my smart bottle also pulls into our app. So that's then got to appear on the remote patient monitoring, what do you guys call it? Software? I don't know. It's not an electronic medical record, but it's not Epic, but it's RPM, right? And they deal with the hardware. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But essentially what we did was we just added a virtual reality button into there. How would you like to meet with this patient now? And that kind of works. And as you might have noticed in the picture before this, the avatars of myself and my psychiatrist are ludicrous little blobs of droid. And the reason is because Dr. Charles Cavo, who is the former OBGYN who left his practice 7 years ago for, I would say, very similar reasons that Dr. Modestine does what she does, where he said, I can't deal with babies and mothers and parents without dealing with obesity. And so the body shaming aspect of it that Fran was talking about and that we've heard a lot about today, I think is where he's coming from. And so then essentially what I did was we built these safe, secure cubes. And we then began saying, okay, well, what would help the patient? Would it be a two-dimensional PDF of their food plan? Sure. When I'm in ShopRite, that's awesome. But how about a 360-degree video of the aisle with full of the ice cream and the big danger sign coming up on my augmented reality glasses that say, "Don't go there, Charles." That's a joke. And you guys can click into the, kind of some of these videos and things like that of patients that are just absolutely, it's mind-blowing. Yeah. So essentially what we did was we built out QR codes and handouts and a demo of the Oculus and the Pico headset. We've built apps for both of those that basically added VR into their waiting room. And this is one of my favorite quotes from one of the PAs there who said, we caused quite a kerfuffle when we all of a sudden had VR headsets in the lobby of the weight loss clinic. And essentially, people just started using them and then buying them at home. We highly recommend the cheapest, which I think is the $400 version of the MetaQuest 2, though the Pico doesn't steal your data, so we can talk about that later. We created social partnerships within the community with farm-to-table restaurants and, gave their practice an entirely new way to advertise and to generate a genuine thought process for their patients. And we altered their kitchen into what now is an XR kitchen. And so the dining room table that you see here, as far as I'm concerned, is the dining room table and the WeWork conference room and the way that this should be set up everywhere. Because coming from a theater point of view, we all know that in the round is better than proscenium, right? Where audience relationship and you all are detached. So what this is, and we've actually got one in Princeton, and so we're excited to partner with the Princeton Perinatal Institute, which is a complete coincidence because Fran from San Diego somehow connected. I grew up in Princeton, and so I built this in my mom's basement just to prove I could do it somewhere besides Hartford. And Dr. Modestine and I are on a panel today, so we'll get back to more of that maybe later. And I know I'm pounding through this, but I noticed that, time is flying. Oh yeah, 10 minutes, there we go. So I'm done. Okay, we made an app, we gave them an app. There's a lot of them, they love it. We made the integration similar to Zapier. Does anybody know what Zapier is? Yes. So you toggle, right? We have nothing to do with Zapier. But wouldn't it be cool if Cindy XR was the Zapier of healthcare? You choose the 3 things you want from that patient at that moment. That's just one idea. And it leads to measurable outcomes, right? Trackable, measurable medical outcomes. I don't know anything about what you guys do as physicians, but I've been fat for a long time. So the EQ is something that, like again, you can go to cindyxr.com and read more about this. Essentially, there's in my experience, a cognitive problem when I leave the nutritionist's office. I have to go to my car and get in and drive by Popeyes. Fuck you, McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So if the mental health aspect of obesity could be helped, and the continuum of what I'm about to call a massive online role-playing game, right? If life is a game and you take away the derogatory aspect of game, then you get to, non-scale victories, forget about it. I'm gonna get my dopamine rush from Ozempic. I thought that was a really good joke. And the triggers. We're just measuring the triggers with the kids, with the people, we haven't gotten far. We haven't gotten under 18 years old with any of the people. We have 835 people that have downloaded the app and tried it. There's a mobile app you can go right now. We charge people on the payer side and on the patient side. So the doctors pay for access. And I'll leave you, and the patients pay for access in order to kind of create, I think, giving a shit about using the app as opposed to like, my carb tracker, excuse my language. So I'll leave you with 3 dreams, right? I think this is obvious. I think we've heard a million great ideas today in this room as well as yesterday in the auditorium about connecting patients to a community of real people going through real situations together wherever they are. I think that something that Dr. Modestine and I should talk about as we get into the panel session, but essentially, as soon as they're sexually active, the human needs to be connected to the exact right professional at the exact right time. And I think potentially the way we do that, this is my impression of Fruit Ninja, like I like to call it Pizza Ninja. And that's a chicken parm hero being thrown in my path on a regular basis. And I see it, to be completely honest with you. Oh, and I have to say, I'm not doing this alone. This is with a partnership of an incredible group of technical partners. But I think we need to build an MMORPG that starts with the sonogram and then happens with the second sonogram. And those are Max and Anna. So there you go.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.